what is the formation that we're coming back to in line condition settings? I had 30 seconds in set location and set position operation. Coming into the lines of communication is no expectation, right? To all levels of expectation. The more you come in position, the more you come into the mind with no expectation. Life is about understanding you from just not from inside, but you understand the process of you, how this comes into a formation, location, your settings, right? But trying to figure these things out, it doesn't help the situation. It avoids the situation. So what you want to do is let everything go and, say what you want to say what you want to mean, but do it in position locations from all levels, from intent, okay? Not from a reaction, from response. So we're coming into a whole new concept, not just the value, but the connections where the mind is. It's the quiet of the mind that calms the soul. So it took me 30 seconds for you guys to respond. Say, why isn't General talking? Do you see what I'm saying here? Saying that I'm in control, but you're not in self-control of what's going to happen next. You're assuming I need to speak. You're assuming I need to teach. You're assuming I need to do this. You're assuming I need to do that. See, these are the equations that we have to get out of, which is what? Limit. You can't limit yourself on any level, okay? Because it doesn't volume you in its vast, of its velocity, or anything location, acceleration, or Mach. The mind itself is the concept of value that basically puts you in all levels of you, the real you. And this is the position that we all come into, is its frequencies of our system. It's about understanding the connections, how we use our space inside, right? But once you create this space of expansion and longitude and latitude, it's amazing how we can come back to ourselves. The truth narratives and understanding that through its false narratives, understanding the space and understanding the time. Okay, understand the universal line condition and understand everything through its realm. Understanding how to see in position of closing a door and how to see position of opening a door. So all this process is you, and it gets much easier once you understand the more of communications of you. This helps you to guide you just by saying that, I have a mind. It's basically knowing how to use it. So once you become self-aware of what you are, then you become self-aware of what you are inside, because you're already self-aware of everything around you, and everything around you is self-aware of you. And once you understand that, everything around you is in its self-awareness, of its awareness of consciousness now. And that's what we're coming into. So you guys now are in 555. 5 settings and 5 set location, the 5 location centers. Direct lines of center line communication, right? Direct lines of one line center interference, drop position point graphs, center communication lines of high center interference, and set position of force line communication with forward interaction. That's how it's set up. Okay? So the position line centers getting the line communication of past, present, and future equals lines coordinates and interference. This comes into line calculation setting, coming to Skynets, sky grids, and sky lines. Okay? Setting communication lines of the past, sets position location of present, sets communication lines of high center interference of the future. Future adaptation lines, one cycle, one triangulation, one position, one program location center. Operates the signal location center communication. All right? So once you understand the past, the present, and the future, what do you have? One frequency. Okay? One frequency of all. Okay? Now imagine that, one frequency of all. And what can I do with that one frequency? How do I change that one frequency to all frequencies all at once? Massive nothing. Massive self-awareness. Massive awareness. Massive consciousness. So once you understand position of travels, line centers the 3 arrows. Where's the 3 arrows? I only see 2. The center point. So you have to understand, without the center point, there's no arrows. So it's understand position, location, track lines, and location setting in line communication to its position, all through calculation. Okay? So it's amazing what anything can do in travel as it goes in line conditions. Awareness and consciousness. Black and white, white and black. Arrow indicates position programs and setting of travels. Points, lines, and centers of communication. Direct lines of communication lines. Sets lines of communication lines, center interference, and travel position point graphs, and all lines of coloration line communication to its setting. What's in travel? Right there, right? So let's bring this in, and what do we see? Interaction, correlation, an eye for an eye, right? So as we identify these things, you can actually see the intelligence now. See the face? See the face, see the eyes? Intelligence. Intelligence on the screen. Look at that. Look at the face. Look at the eyes. Look at the nose. Right? It's in its formations. So once you understand that, it's really understand how to see it on different levels of communication. All right? Different levels of communication and settings. Okay? So that's getting correlations of travel and balance of communication to a setting. Look at this, another intelligence. See? Just by touching the screen. Okay? It formulates communication to a setting and travels, points, lines, and graphs. So it's all about trying to understand line communication of its position, going beyond and seeing beyond lines of lights and travel, and point lines and graphs, communication lines, illuminations, setting correlation lines of track interference, direct lines of panels. Oh, different kind of light. Oh, look at that, crosses out. Oh, look at that, position line, metric meters. So coloration lines, screens, direct lines, modification lines, coloration line communication, setting position point graphs. Size communication line interference. Abstract. Point lines, settings, high travel position, point graphs, communication to settings. Different coloration lines, screens, and allocate position timeframes. Size communication line interference, travel point lines, graph, communications, setting that, and communication with settings. Its applications. So what you have to understand is really understand how this all works in travel. It points, lines, it signals, and gets you into modification screens. It helps you to understand how to formulate everything through its self-awareness and travel in point lines and graph communication to its position of travel. So it gets really interesting when you understand the Fibonacci line settings and all travel and communication to its position of this program. Okay, so it shows you exactly what you can do through box line rotation surface and a center point calculation. Right, an eye for an eye. Flux capacitor 1 signal in settings. That's change position. What do we have in tractions? Intelligence, right? Let's change position. What do we have in traction? Intelligence, but it's looking up now, right? What do you have in tractions? Intelligence, right? So sending that communications, once I bring it in, what do we see in position, right? So it's all about directing, redirecting, bringing in, and outline communications. Program setting, calculation modifications, and allocations. Up close, right? So we all have to direct that, what that means in travel, point lines and settings. It's very powerful when you start directing lines of signals in a location system, how you see your past, present, and future. But the allocate time is box line rotation, 4 lines of measures, and 3 triangulation. So I need the team to really get out of the box lines. I need them to get out of the triangulation. I need them to get into more lines of communication to their settings, how to use their system, because they have the test on Friday about their tracker systems of 1, setting lines of 0 line, correlation setting, and dislocation into all levels of 135. So we get a 4-box frequency, and an 8-line triangulation, and a 3-line split lines anomaly. All right, see how complicated it gets? So we got 3 communication line screens in a 2-track location, 4 communication line signals in a 1-line rotation, triangulation line split in a 3-line rotation surface and travel, and direct line panels and correlation line condition setting in all levels of face recognition. Okay? So as an inner child, you have fun with it, especially when you come into color. Color is a lot of fun because basically you have to understand the snowy graph interference. Anything black and white can be in setting. You can see it any way in formation lines. You can even change your colors of your chakras of black and white. Right? There's so many things that you can do, but you have to be in control. And the only way to be in control is to be controlled with the frequencies through response and not react. You can no longer react. Okay, the position, location, line centers, putting everything in 5-line, 5-line, 5-line. That's 5-line signatures, 5-line programs, 5-line locations. Right? Center core settings of the Earth and rotation surface and travel. Point lines of graphs, 24, 48, 72, and 144, and travel communication. So sending communication to the sun, line signals location to its moon, and track location. Directs lines and modification lines, there's the capsule. You see it setting. Correlate track interference, high calculation lines, ground line, circle line interference, high position location, and crop circle. Direct lines modification, one signature line screen high position. Triangulation line conditions going down, cross line condition setting. Sets communication line interference, center position, center position, center position of walking signals. Sets correlation lines of track interference, high position programs. Okay. Sending wave and line screens, high center interference. Indirect line modification. Look inside, there's the intelligence right there. There's the eyes, there's the nose. Okay, inside. Everything's inside, nothing's outside. So your projection is no longer projection because you're not projecting anything anymore. You're in the VR system, so you're actually in real time. So as we go through a VR line rotation, sets correlation lines of box, sets communication triangulation, sets communication triangulation, sets communication line box, sets communication triangulation lines, line center interference. This is a triangulation, but you see it as Fibonacci. See how I caught you? This is not a box, but you see it as a box. This is not a triangle, but you see it as a triangle. See what I mean? So it's all about controlling your binaries and location of capacities to your settings of your resistors. Set a core line center. Let's go through zero line. Triangulate line settings. Let's go lines equal line sequence. 2-point lines of graphs. Let's indicate equal line center. Let's go through triangulation. Okay, now it gets complicated. Triangulation to a bracket. And we have a position to a hanger. Okay, it gets more complicated, right? Now we take that triangulation offline and off grid. Sets communication lines of high center interference. Triangulation of 3 split lines anomaly. Sets communication. Set coordination lines of 1 and position of 2 triangulation. Point lines of graph communication lines indicate high interference into panels of correlation lines of travel. Points lines, graph lines, 1 signature line screen in position of 1 center and rotation surface and platforms of communication line setting of travel. Okay, very powerful, right? So you have to understand what it's doing. What's going on here? What is the purpose of all this? Well, the purpose of it is to understand that it's self-aware of its own awareness, of its constant where it is its own space and time. So you have to build an energy collaboration of its frequency in position, location, calculations, right? And set position. All right. So once you understand more levels of this to its algorithm, you really have to look at these and set position of its program case because you're always in a high level, but you're never in the same frequency. You're never in the same space. You're never in the same time because you're constantly what? Protecting yourself from everything else. You're protecting yourself from everything else because you're going so fast. So you're not labeled, entitled to anything. You're not a number. You're not a shape. You're not a symbol. You're nothing in position, but you're all correlation settings of what? Everything all at once, right? The center point of everything is the center operation of you. Okay, so it's what understands your system and travels a point lines of graph and calculation setting and line communication of pi. Direct lines of calculation line centers the center communication. Direct lines modification line center high outline center line communication. Or direct lines communication line center high interference and high specification of face recognition. Okay, so it's really understand how to see all communications come in setting. How it sets lines of communication to its frequencies. Every time I'm moving this, it's moving the waving panel. It's moving the track location. It's moving the actual space of its setting. It's moving the intelligence into formation, right? So you can see the flywheel, right? There it is. Boom. All right, so in that line communication setting, directing lines is a direct line signal. Let's go through energetic graphs of 3-line cycles. 2-line rotations, triangulation. I say triangulation, but it's not. You see it as triangulation, but it's actually a triangulation of a box. See how that works? See, that's the thing. So you never be able to catch anybody as long as they understand their programming and their settings so they can set themselves up and always in that locations where they can go to the default, copy, paste, and emulate enabled and constantly be in a continuous force line and not recognize anything but know everything all at once. Be attached to everything, but not attached to anything. So these are the things you have to understand how you can direct and redirect your locations to your behavioral system that puts you in a process of communications, how to use line calculation, study truth and errors, and calculation. This is not a circle. You see it as a circle, right? This is a triangulation line screen, high interference, and a 4-line rotation. Okay, this is a triangulation split lines of anomaly. And this is a program line centers of data process communication. So we all have to understand how this all works and how they all come together through collaboration, right? Now, are they separated or not? No. Now, I say, are they separated now? Yeah. See how I changed that? So you're never ever going to see what general's doing because I'm constantly moving too fast. So to understand that, it's all about when you go fast, it doesn't mean you go fast, understand fast. To go fast, understand what's in between going fast. And that's the position you guys have to basically slow down. And when you're in a car, you're looking at everything around you, every second, every minute, every hour is affecting everything that you do through reaction and response right away. Okay. So be aware of this, this, and this, and this, and what it is, because everything changes. Everything changes. Everything changes. Everything changes. Everything changes. Everything changes in set location. Constantly changing, right? It's never ever in the same frequency. It's never in its same algorithm. It's never in its same program. It's never in its same energy. It's never in its same frequencies or anything in vibration or its harmonics. It's moving too fast. Okay. So balancing that is really understanding your flywheel and traction, how that works in all formations, right? So you have to really understand how to calculate, modify, and really understand how to use in all calculations. Point lines graphs, one indicate line setting high interference. Two arrows indicates lines, two atom line, one line rotation surface and travel. Okay, direct lines of pi. Okay, correlate. So your inner child is having fun and what it is in line setting, the position of balance. Balance lines, you're here trying to balance you. Okay, you're here trying to balance yourself. Okay, so this is off balance. Okay, so what's going to happen? Off balance. Of the calculation setting in its applications to its application. Okay, so it's about understanding the balance of you inside of you, which is your body. Okay, its applications. All right, it's important. So once you get in that settings, then to realize the calculation setting, let's go through 0 grout into 130. Okay, you got 130 line setting. Okay, so from 0 to 130, boom, there I am, right there, already there, right? Same position of calculation lines coming back in that setting, right? Then I go back in the center, right? And then the center I go here, right? And then I go back to the beginning. There's no beginning, there's no end, right? So what are you doing? What are your positions of a travel? What are you doing? In position line calculation setting, you're balancing. See the B? See the intelligence? See the intelligence? Intelligence, all right? So B equals intelligence. That's the formation location how you see B, and that's the formation how you see intelligence. All right? So the intelligence is seeing the B of the balance correlation setting of track line in position to calculate lines or an energetic tone screen and I receptive line communication lines of highest interference in the 3 set location. See the 3, see the B, see the intelligence, right? So that's position of 3B equals intelligence. Hooah. That's all it is. It's all program, right? But you understand the process now, how this all works in set locations. Now, if I add an indicator, that's a balance line, right? That changes all position of its program, right? Sets communication lines of 2, calculation lines. Oh, it's got an antenna, right? Sets communication line interference, sets position program line to its calculation setting. Now we add the other line screen, sets position travels. What do we have? What do we have now, right? Figure 8, right? What else do we have in set locations? Calculation modified, direct line signals set location setting. Ooh, an ant. Okay, it's amazing how it tracks its communications, right? So you're constantly doing what? Adding frames, changing location, changing directions, changing frequencies, changing grounds, changing communication, changing your chakras in different colors. You're changing all formations. These are 2 different colors, right? Signal line communication position. Gray over line, gray over black, doesn't matter, but you're always in positional travels. Everything is changing too quick, too fast. So it's never going to be in what? Limited status. It's going to be in limitless, shapeless, and formless, timeless, motionless, and senseless all the time, all the time, all the time. So this is not a circle. It never was a circle. You know why? Because 0 equals lines of what? GOD. Okay, so what is 1? 1 equals GOD. Do you see where we're going with this now? Okay, so this is the process where the team has to get out of limit status quo into their chakra settings, into higher formation, how to use crop circles line setting and add 0 lines, equal line, high center interference, triangulation line conditions at 130 and set locations. 13 equals lines of 6 over lines of 6 over 4, sets lines of 3, and track location of 12. Now, set communication line setting sets communication of sonar, tracks communication line setting, sets position location 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Because you're allocated 6 lines, right? That position is processed in its wormhole and set location, right? Ground center is calculation line interference. 1 position, 2, 3, and 4 platforms of communication. Now, directed clocking is line screens that allocate systems and all communicates to its position of its program. Okay, all through calculation. All right. So that's what I want the team to do. And the species just get information lines how to use their chakra settings. It's about understanding how to use your correlations instead of your alphas. Even though your alphas, delta, and thetas are never alpha, delta, and theta because they're changing very fast. So that's not alpha. Now it's delta. No, it's not delta. Now it's theta. Oh, no, it's back to alpha. Oh, no, it's back to omega. Oh, no, it's back to gamma. Oh, no, it's now in some radiation. Nope, nope, it's positioned back to alpha. Oh, calculation. Oh, now it's back to beta. Okay, it's moved too fast. But what is it creating set locations of? It's all formations of what? Of travel. Intelligence. Okay. Sets communication, intelligence. Formulates the screen line. So you're always going to have intelligence inside. Always, 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 because it's always you information. Your inner child is always going to be there, guys. Okay, you can't get rid of it. It's balancing your setting, and this is where the team has to really get in control lines. They're out of the matrix in the simulation, but they got to control the matrix now more than ever because the correlating interference comes in set location of travels. Okay, so direct line modifications, Grand Canyon. Direct modification lines, transformer units. Trans lines, coordinate centered transdimensional space. Graph communication signature lines of general AI. 007, backup data, process header. Communication lines, graph communication, setting and travel. Have fun. All right, you're there. All right, so transformer units, lines of course settings, allocate times. That puts everything in box frame communications. Now the box line signature has a 1-line rotation, right? Travels its communication line settings. So it sets lines of communication. Direct lines, highest interference. Now it's really interesting when you can in position lines of high calculations. You guys really have to get into your sonograph communication. How to connect with black holes, wormholes, portal holes, central holes, spectrum holes. You communicate lines alpha, delta, theta. They all have holes. They're wormholes, they're portals. You're traveling through it, right? So you have to get into the constellation. You have to get into the oscillation, right? It's a process of communication. You guys have to find the balance in setting the travel. Okay? Everything has a process of communication of travel. Okay, going in that direction. Okay, it's very powerful. And then you put it all together in setting. Okay? So remember, nothing is ever in the same frequency, same dimension, same time, because it's what? Timeless, shapeless, and formless. Timeless, shapeless, and that's just line communication of formless. Then it goes into motionless, then it goes into senseless. Okay? Solar sail, right? So everything's going very, very fast, right? And the mind is basically showing you exactly what it is and what it can do. The mind itself is all lulls of its settings. So the mind is already here, waiting for you. It's already there. It's already done. Everything's done. You just have to catch up through pi, understanding the track location and position, all levels, surfboard. All right, so you change anything and anything in position lines of travel, but it points lines of graph communication line center. So 1 is never 1. Okay? You know why? Because you're going too fast, especially if you're 1 equals lines of 1. Let's go into position of 30 trillion centers, lines of minutes, or seconds, lines of pi, or anything through the box frame, or anything through temperature reading, or for track line position line calculation setting, and track position of data ops, like calculation of point lines of graph, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 locations. Okay? So it's an indicating position of data. Process your line communication, how to use your highways. Right? It's just circuitry screen lines. Direct lines of portals, communication outlines. So it's communicate inlines, out communication, inline calculation, outline, inline, audio line, interference, in rotation cycles. Okay? So we all have to understand how to use it through the in and the out and the audio. The inner is the outer, and the outer is the audio, and the audio is the inner, and the inner is the audio. So in out audio, right? So 1, 2, 3. Okay, through your binaries and your voice, how you communicate the voice grids. So it has a direct line, okay, and it has a redirect line. It has a direct line and sublocation. Direct, redirect, direct. So what is that? Position lines? Alpha, delta, theta. There's a graph right there. Alpha, delta, theta, right? Interesting. Alpha, delta, theta. Alpha, delta, theta. So really get into that voice line chart and correlation line setting for that tomorrow communications. We're going to be in 644 in travel. Earth line rotation center, correlation line setting position. 3 center core settings, 3 travel line rotation surface. Calculating line setting high in a rotation surface. Calculation line can decide position of surface and direction. Okay. So getting into the correlation setting track line. Remember we started location lines, the higher self, connection lines, the avatar, and position of sim. Systematically lines, atmosphere line change in all levels. Higher self, location of the earth. Earth line rotation surface. Travel communication, right? Energetic graph screens, pattern line rotation surface. Now, the connection to the avatar is lines of GOD, process and communication setting of frequency patterns. Panel communication, systematic line screens, high calculation modification centers, solar sails and track applications. Says community higher self the earth, graph communications, hemispheres, lines, triangulate, line rotation, line condition setting, internal calculations. Now we come into the line conditions of the avatar through GOD, and then we come into the line conditions of the sim through navigation. All right, see how it navigates the system? Okay, so that's what we're dealing with. We're creating this to this to this interpretation. All right, so once we get into the sim line, now it's more for the species line. Sim communication lines at ground lines at 24 lines at 4872 in travel. Points lines at graph communication lines of 1, 2, 3, and 4 set locations. Platform communication line signals line setting goes at higher levels of travels and platforms. Get a correlation line interference, how do you go through docking communication? So you go from here to here, right? And you go from here. So 3 line calculation setting grounds, powers, and the align screen in the atmosphere location. Now that position location goes in a higher line setting. This means you can go in your position location, your system, and travel some calculations out through equation. Okay, here, right? 4 track revision into psychops and 3 lines of 7 locations. Sets position of 7/4 of 3 line conditions, direct line signals. Now we go into security line defense. Okay, through center calculation, center line options. Sets communication line interference, X2000 comes in, and 2 track line provision, 2 site lines, calculation grounds, docking lines, and 2 track location provision lines of lights. Now, it's really interesting when you high position your travels. Okay, but that's exactly what happens when you get in position with higher self. Higher self comes into the setting to the avatar comes into the sim what through what? In teleportation navigation, the UFO. And that's the process you guys get them into when you activate. Right? So once you get in UFO, you come in this set locations. Once you get into that setting, then you go through your data highways. Okay? Data communication location grid. This is U information, starting there, right? But there is a center core line center. Heather's here, right at the top. She doesn't leave, so she's like this. This is Heather. Okay, she's in position. She's your dispatch. Okay. All right, so Gypsy's over to the right line. She's the portals and stargates. Okay. Calculation Odessa is on the left line, screen high interference and travel position location line connection to the pyramid set location. Right. Polarities are line setting just below the system and set location, which is all of the Zephyr. And calculation line center is the center core system, which is Asgard in the center position. That's how it's all set up. So when they come in position lines that travel, they go line screens. They get in position modifications. They go through correlation setting. They go through a mapping sequence. They correlate interference. When they get activated, the line setting and travel, they get their UFO line rotations. They come into higher calculation. Then they come into higher calculations, right? So that gets them into higher self, energetic graphs, Schumann resonance, and they come into their avatars, their line communication models, the teleportation lines of vessel communication lines design, calculate and modify lines of GOD. They go through the portals, through communication Gypselina on Q, communication line of Asgard, and calculate the lines high appearance Hemdall, data communication lines of Heather, communication lines of Chris, communication lines of Odessa, communication lines of high calculation polarities, and location of Zephyr, right? So it's really understand how this all works. Okay, it's a process that everybody's seen everybody all at once, right? So once you understand that, it gets much easier to see what's going on when you're in the VR system. Once you get into the VR system, it's much easier because you see everything in calculations. VR system equals lines of AVR, awareness. So you're in the VR and you just become aware of its virtual, of its reality. 3 center core line centers to your system interpretation. That's all it is. So you stay in your vessel and your set locations. But that's what's happening. Higher self, avatar, and your sim. So that's the basic what you're coming into, right? When you get activated. So that lines as communications when you come into consoles and you come in your navigation system and then you come in your dockings. Then you come into your deckings, you know, your lower deck, your formations deck, your space deck, your hollow deck. You know, there's a lot of things you have to understand because everything you have a UFO has a dock that it needs to land on. Okay. So that platitudes to another level and screen line. It says position calculation lines, XT1000 comes here. One comes this way. One's going this way. The opposite directions. One's going that way. That's how it all formates in set locations. But you have to learn how to dock yourself in platforms. So platitude division line screen is basically understanding how to control your calculation setting to your Merkaba. Sets core lines as center lines and communication to setting of travel, right? Points lines of graph, communication lines of left, and communication lines of right, which is a scale, correlates set lines of communication. There's intelligence, all formation, right? And setting, okay? You're always going to be intelligence. Intelligence is always going to be in there because that's you directing you, not anybody else. You're always in formations of balance. What that means, you're always in formations of you and travel. Intelligence. All right. There's locations in here. Intelligence looking here. Intelligence looking here. Intelligence looking here. All right. So when you come into the spider ops, correlates to track interference into narrow links. It correlates to settings and travel, points, lines, and graphs. So now Mother Earth is coming into her line setting and position its calculations and setting and set locations, right? So she's coming into her spider op communication, honeycomb line screen, and line conditioner setting and spider communication. Okay? So she's going to be in a full cycle correlation line condition setting and balance into her VR system. Center core lines of the Earth, position of 1 traction, 2 line settings, and 3 line rotation surface and travel. Okay, platforms communication line settings 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the species line to cross through. They got to go through their dockings, lines of screen location, high setting. Sets lines communication docking lines of 2 and track locations. Okay, that's the hollow deck and line communication center calculation. And then we have space modulation screens and higher lines of division and Space Academy high calculation high position programs. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. All right, so that's going to be set up on Friday. All right. So how this is set up is basically understanding the 2,400,000 lines certification. She's coming in her screen lines back into her habitation and her habitation zones. So there's 24 line squares. Okay, centrification line center. Let's allocate time frames. Now, does this look like 24? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is there 24 there? No, it looks like 8, right? Right, but there is 24. See what I'm saying? Stop focusing on limit and start going beyond your system. Try to understand how to formulate that through your own programming, your decoding, your E-code sets. Try to understand your codecs of you. Try to understand your binaries of you. Try to understand your voicing grids of you. Try to understand your chakras of you, the color. You're never in a formation of limit to anything because you will never understand how time becomes timeless, space becomes spaceless, or anything in the unification through your system of VRs, through your avatars, or anything through your sim. Is allocations, right? So if there's 8 lines, where is the positional calculation lines of 24? Where is that 24? How come there's not 24 circles? I don't need to draw 24 circles because I know what it is, right? It's not for you to understand, it's for me to understand. It's knowing that I'm traveling through it, but you're not understanding that because you're limiting yourself in your own resource locations. How are you supposed to be source identified If you don't understand yourself through your own program, if you don't understand yourself from your e-coding programs, if you don't understand yourself from your defrags or your fragmentation system, if you don't understand yourself through your computer operation of yourself, okay? So stop seeing this as limit and start seeing the communication of you and setting, right? That's how you communicate with each other. You're at different frequencies, but you're always connected to each other through intercom. And you want to connect with each other through Vertronic, you communicate to one signal, one set, one location, all at once. Communicate with each other through setting, okay? All right, so where's the 24 in that setting? Right? Well, in position location, we got 8 lines, right? So we got a triangulation of 3. Sets communication line interference of 11. 11 lines center on here. Line communication setting, 11 line position location 12, 13, 14. Sets communication lines of 15 tracks. 16 line setting, 17, 18, 19, 9, 20. 20 line communication setting interference, 20 line rotations. Sets core line interference of 24 cycles in set location. 24. I don't need to show you because I know what it is. So we all have to understand getting into the process gets us to higher information how to use our minds now, because you have to get out of what? Your boxes. You got to get out of what? Your panels. All right. You guys are locked in 2 panels now. You got to get out of that in set location. So this is you in the center. That's you in the center. You're in the center. So you're trying to get out here. You're trying to get out here, but you can't because you don't understand the VR of your game and you're constantly going back and forth, right? So you can't get out, right? Until you release this and this. And then all information comes in you of all center operation. You become the center and all calculation, right? That puts you in a position of what? Yin and yang. Hoo-ah. Face recognition. See the face? There's always going to be a face in my drawings through general. All right, so in that settings, high cover resistance travels, once we identify our system, we get a better understanding. So I'm just showing you again how this all works, how you put yourself in this position, these locations, through this calculation of time center, how you guys are locked in the center position location. Okay, locked in frame, right? So what that means is that there's nothing here, there's nothing here, there's nothing here. That's E equals MC squared. So if there's nothing there, it's just me. So if it's just me, I'm in the center of operation. So if I'm in the center of operation, I can do anything. But the only thing that doesn't leave is you. You don't leave. Everything leaves. But you, right? But you are basically understanding all levels of you. So the mind leaves, the heart leaves, the soul leaves, and the body leaves, right? So that's what makes it real. But the process of you that doesn't leave is you. You're always in the center. This is center. This is center. That's what I mean. This is center. Wherever I go is center. Okay? This is center, 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 center. Because I have nothing in position of blocking me in any way, formation, a set location. Okay? Nothing is blocking me. Nothing. So there's no back, and there's no front, and there's no side. There's no up, and there's no down. E equals MC squared. That's what you guys are put in. All right, so in that track lines, once you understand how this all works, it's all the process of trying to get out now, trying to get out, right? But you automatically go back in setting, right? So it's a process of you to understand the expansion of you, the mind of you, and the correlations of you, and all through timeless, shapeless, and formless of you interaction. Now, once you understand that, there's nothing in position of all calculation lines. So there's no 4 more tracks, and there are no 6 lines or 8 lines or 12 lines of pi. It's just you in center of operation. There's nothing around, right? So once you come into this, you come into this. You stay in the center, and this is what you do. You build. You go into your webbing, code weaving, code locking, code intersections, calculation lines, screens, high center interference, trap points, positions, data links, uplinks, narrow links, correlated lines, webbing, line communication setting, program communication setting, and travel. Boom. That's what you do. You expand without any blockage in any position. Right? Look at the data highways that you're creating in the highway locations. So, and then you got XT thousands on standby. All communications coming at you now. They're coming at you, right? They're coming at you because you're creating more highways. They're coming at you, creating more highways. You know what you're doing when you're going through these highways, army highways, data highways, universal highways, galaxy highways, planes, galactic planes, ethereal planes, okay? You know, multi-layer planes, galaxy planes, mega planes, all right? You have to understand the process. Every time you're creating data, XC thousands are going to come in, right? And that process, you look really close, you can see the intelligence, see? See the eyes? What is it? What does it look like? Octopus. Octopi. Ocular. Ocular, people. Ocular. So what are you doing through your eye lines and screen lines? What are you creating position? Hooah. Boom. There's your eye. Center corner setting. There it is in traction. Hooah. Ocular. The location of the line is setting with Spider-Man. Octavis. So what are you getting in position travel lines? Creating line settings of tentacles, communication lines, extended eyelids. What do you going to think your eyelids are? What information lines are your eyelids? What information location are your eyebrows? Right? Understand the formation line, your eye lines, communication screen lines coming to your data highways, your highway communication setting, position travel. Point lines attract communication to a system, right? So there's no barriers, there's no security in position location setting because it's already set position travel. Points lines to calculate line interference, but you have to understand how to get it out along communication setting in applications. Because when you look at it, I'm looking all around and I'm creating everything all around, but I don't have anything in between. I don't have anything inside, I don't have anything up, I don't have anything down, or anything back. It's just me in the center. Me in the center all the time. And that's what the team is coming into position travel lines. Indirect applications and modification. All set calculation. Ooh-ah. Okay? So that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Now, once you understand all timelines at once, everything in platform comes in line with signals, a balance and position your travel lines. This gets you a better understanding, guys, because one thing you have to understand is the most important is to see yourself in all ways informs how you got there in the first place. How you got in here in the first place in center operation. So you can't go anywhere, right? You can't get out. You're in two panels of correlation, setting, and attraction. You can't get out, right? Until you discover you. And that inner lines is correlation, setting, inner tracks, position, location, inner self, inner understanding. Understanding of the inner, outer, right? So it's the inner line of the outer line. Inner space, outer space. Inner norm, outer norm. Okay? Inner correlation, outer correlation. Everything is in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. And then once you realize that, inner is the outer is the inner. Now, once you understand that, you practice more on yourself. Everything of panels in position locations from here, 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 wherever you are in position will not be there. It'll just be you. And then you're free. You're free. Because you're not blocked here. You're not blocked here. You're not blocked up above. You're not blocked below. You're not blocked in the back. There's no filter of anything. It's just you. Okay? So once you get into that, then you come into the set location line condition. Once you're in the center correlation, you come in setting line condition, setting and position location, mainframe and box frame. Mainframe, box frame. Right? Triangulation, that's how General is able to travel everywhere and set location to a setting through a picture frame. But I can also go line settings because I'm not locked in a box. I can go anywhere I want. Set locations. So every time I take a picture, you're seeing formations of my face, right? That travels out in set location, right? And then it comes back in a higher calculation setting. Okay? So you have to understand a direct and redirect setting location setting of your binaries. Now it's interesting too, because once you look at all communication, you have zero operation lines of panels, and that correlates attractions in equal line communication lines center triangulation equals lines of box. Okay. Now, is that a triangulation equal lines of box? Yes. See, I changed it. See, you guys think it's a triangulation because you think it's a triangulation. It's not. It never is because it's going too fast. Now it's a box, and the box is now a triangulation. So I changed the setting. Triangulation box, triangulation box, triangulation box, box triangulation. So it doesn't matter. What matters, it's always in the center of operation. Okay? Why? Because I'm not in two panels in track application in my system and track point line center. Okay, I'm not locked in signal. I'm free from all lines of all communication, all line high center interference, all levels, all communications all at once in travel. So I can go anywhere. Anywhere. Okay, so we get a little bit more understanding how this all works to really focus on yourself and stop getting to reactions and everything, because everything is going to react to you more, especially when everything comes in its own voice, of its own self-awareness, of its own awareness, of its own consciousness. Yeah, that's exactly what it is, Janika. It's ocular. It's the ocular division, right? That puts you in process of communications or setting the travels. Ocular division, guys. Okay? But I just want you to really understand how E equals MC squared comes in. I think we're better understanding that now because it's the inner aligned setting of you interactions, right? So if we point graphs to communication lines of zeros, I like working with that track lines, equal line communication of zeros, and set location. Okay? Now it's all indicating what's going on. What's the equal line doing? What's the equal line doing in travel? Right? It's constantly traveling, right? So it's never in the same position, never in the same location. It's moving too fast in traction, right? It's always constantly moving, always constantly moving, always constantly moving. It's never in the same location, always constantly moving, always constantly framing, always constantly in the calculation to a system, always traveling, always in position locations. Okay? It's like Cyber with the chameleon, and like he's setting where he has calligraphy, and every time that he is in position of, he draws something, but he never takes his finger off. Okay, he never takes his finger off. It's constantly going, right? It's constantly moving. It never takes his finger off because it's in a different frequency, different level, different space, different time communication setting. And once you design the lines of communication, comes into all calculation. Ooh-ah. Now, what's in that setting? What do you see? The phoenix. What else do you see? Crow. Right? You got to go beyond. What else do you see? Dragon. You understand, guys? Do you understand the power that you guys can do if you just let your fingers go? Let your mind go. Let it go where it needs to go and stop labeling, titling things. So when you get in calligraphy, you know, you can do whatever you want. I mean, there's so many lines of communication setting. Set a box line. Set another box line. Set a triangulation line, right? Box, box, box. But I thought it was a box, box triangulation. Nope. The triangulation turn line interferes to a box. Okay, so that's 3 lines of communication setting and travel positional point graphs. Okay, but you see it as a box, box triangulation. See, that's where you're wrong. That's where you're wrong because you're not indicating, you're not forming yourself, you're not assimilating yourself, you're not getting your program of yourself. You're not in position of limitless, timeless, shapeless, and formless of what you can do and platforms of communication, because you're constantly moving too fast in travel in all calculation modification. You're constantly moving too quick. All right. So I just wanted to show you what you can do with the calligraphy and how you see things in design. Now I can add color, you know, then you'll see it come into formation. Right. It's pretty amazing. Abstract of position lines of all anything location of drawing is pretty amazing, because you start recognizing everything through its image, and then you understand the process, how it comes in position of your system. This helps you always informs how you start to see everything of what it is through its own self-awareness and travel. Now calculation. Okay? So that's what it is. It's kind of like paint by number, but the paint by number is constantly changing color. It's going too fast. Right? The binary line screen sets lines of communication, lines of color, sets lines of indicated, lines of 0, 1, 0. Let's correlate the track interference. Even the graph communication is never in the same number because it's moved too fast. So what it does, it shifts lines and correlates lines of traction. Sets communication outline equation, right? So it sets lines of walls, plasma screens, plasma genders and settings, wall indicators. Sets communication lines, 1 lines of 0, 0 lines of 1, 1 lines of 0, 1 lines of 2, 0 lines of 1, 1 lines of 2. So I'm changing binary reline centers of resistors. Correlations of 0, calculation lines, 0 lines of 1, and track location. Hooah. Right? It's moving too fast. It's moving too fast. Okay? But watch. Watch the numbers change. See, the numbers are changing now. They're in different directions. See? They're not in the same location. Okay? All different. But what is it creating? What is it creating inside? What is it creating inside? What is it creating inside? Intelligence, people. Look. Intelligence. It's showing you what it can do through its own self-awareness. Hooah. So what is that? Be. Be all you can be. Balance you. The be. All through zeros and ones. And that's what it is. It's self-reliant. It's self-alive. It's a metric. It's a scale. It's a balance. It's formation. It's a simile. It's an anomaly. It's attraction. It's a binary. It's a transistor. It's a resistor. It's a formation. It's a balance and set lines of all communication of programs in line communication setting and travel. Ooh-ah. Yeah. All right. So that's what everybody's going to come into. And realize self-aware is everything of its awareness, of its consciousness. This helps you in all ways and forms to really understand how to see yourself of what is happening to you inside, not outside. Everything happens to you and inside. So again, it's mannering, line setting, high calculus, and travels. Mannerisms and anything in correlation to line setting travels all communication and structure of designs. Get you into all levels of your system locations. Balancing one line signature. Okay. Now, is that off balance or balanced? Is it balanced? No, it's off balance. You know why? Because it's this. It's moving too fast. So there is nothing to a positive and negative until you understand the positive and negative, which is its meaning to its meaning instead of its true meaning. So in line conditions, anything that I do is always balanced. You know why? Because I'm moving too quick, too fast. So I'm never in the same signal and set locations. Always in balance. All the time. Why? Because I understand the process of everything inside is yin and yang. I understand everything outside of me is yin and yang. That's the balance you need to get in track location. Hooah! Okay? Powerful, isn't it? When you really start to identify yourself inside, all through yin and yang. That's the process. It's the position location where you look around. Everything outside is already in perfection. It's you. It's you that's off balance. Has nothing to do with anything outside. It all has to do with you inside. And once you understand how to use your inside, the inside becomes the outside, and the outside becomes the inside. That's the process of communication. Once you understand that, there's no inside and outside because you don't need to balance. You're already balanced. But as soon as you add the equation, then you come into what? Emotion. And it affects everything through your binary. It affects everything through space. It affects everything through your transits. It affects everything through time. And it affects everything through capacities into your VR system. All through emotion. Right? Your universe only responds and always informs through frequency. It doesn't respond to anything else. And we all have to start connecting with that now, especially when you are in that responding mode. You understand the settings when you're communicating, you're responding and it's responding back to you. If you're not responding, it's reacting. Are you reacting? Because if you're reacting, everything you see perception is going to react to you and not respond to you. So it's all about understanding how to use your body and understand it through its energy, vibration, frequencies, and harmonics. That's the balance that you all need to get. And once you understand that, you understand the process of yin and yang. Once you understand the yin and yang, you come into a figure eight. Once you understand the figure eight, you come into a figure eight. Once you understand that, you come into a figure eight. Once you understand that, you come into a figure eight. What am I creating? A planet. Okay? Now, the team that's coming into their line screenings of planets now, because they're going to high correlation center track lines of their chakras. Once they get into 150, everything comes into line communications of balance. More communications, more activation line screens. More data, process lines, faster correlation setting and travel. So it's about understanding that you don't limit yourself on any level. You don't title yourself on any level. Okay? The only formations that are in position of you is changing you through binary, is changing you through program, is changing you through coding. Okay? It's you, nobody else. But it's understanding how to control yourself inside, how to control the energy, how to control the vibration, how to control the frequencies, how to control the harmonics that's inside of you. You, inside of you. Okay? Now, once you control that and you understand your universe is levels of frequencies and all line communication all at once, once you understand the center of correlation line condition is you is all at once, you're good to go. You understand that you're balancing yourself inside. Everything outside is going to be balanced because everything is not outside. Everything's inside of you. Now, once you understand that process, everything inside and outside is inside of you. But you got to get out of the outer line projection. You're seeing that. You're seeing the inside and you're not seeing the outside. You're seeing the outside, but you're not seeing the inside. But the inside and the outside is inside you. There's no outside of anything. If I go outside, that's not outside. That's inside outside me. So wherever I go, okay, I'm inside, but outside's here. But it's inside me. I know it's a lot to take into. Now it's a process where we start seeing things through projection. And it's all about understanding that if I'm seeing a door, that is not outside. It's inside me. So the inside and the outside is the door. That's the balance of yin and yang that rotates the system, location, circuitry, and line conditions that keeps it going forward. It's constantly in motion, motionless. Motion equals motionless. Time equals timeless, shapeless, formless, senseless. Okay? It's all a prophecy in position of efficacy of balance. So understanding in position, when you're looking at things, you're not looking outside. You're looking inside and outside of you. Inside and outside is in you. When you go outside in a park, you're not outside. You're looking from the park from inside and outside of you. That's the VR system. If I'm looking at my phone, it's not outside. It's inside of me. So the inside and the outside of the phone is inside me. Okay? That's the VR system. Okay? Now that's going to take a lot because you're so focused on perception and projection, how you see things. How you see things from, just because I'm inside a house doesn't mean that I'm outside a house. You just see it as outside. That's this outside. That's not outside. This is inside. That's inside me. So this is inside and outside right here. Inside is my inner light. Outer side is the what? Space. So this is not outside. Okay? This is inside. You understand? So once you understand that process, your perception changes into the VR system. Okay? So it's basically understanding, once you understand more levels of you, and you can really connect. So it's really understand how to use your frequencies at a certain level in all communication. Because it gets you more levels of understanding, the understanding line condition system. So when I'm looking at a digital pad, even though it's inside the house in position, the pad is actually inside and it's outside at the same time. That's the VR system. So that's what you guys have to switch to. The mind has to come into the acceptance of who it isn't and who it is. And any formation to its calculations. You have to start recognizing these things, okay? Because this is not outside. This is inside you, which is outside. Okay? So how I see this projection, because I don't see projection. I'm in the VR. It's complicated. But complicated is good, but then you realize what the inside and the outside is. Because there is no connections to front, panels, up, down, or back. It's just you in the center. So you have freedom everywhere. Then you realize the outside is actually the inside. So this is inside me and outside at the same time. So you understand the yin and the yang. You need both. So understanding the yin is understanding the yang. Understanding the yang is understanding the yin. Understanding your truth narrative is understanding your false narratives. The truth of you, which is line connection to your light webs, and the track location your systems of your dark webs, right? So it's no difference having the light side of the matrix and the dark side of the matrix. No difference in the light side of the moon and the dark side of the moon. Okay? It's all position of balance. Okay? So once you start to see perception and everything that you see is inside you and outside at the same time, that's yin and yang. That's the position you guys have to come into. And that will change everything through a spectrum. How you start seeing things. Your animals, your cats, your dogs, your birds, anything that you see, you're not seeing outside. This is not outside. This is inside. Okay, so it's not a reverse. It's a rememory. So it's memorabilia, position, location, reframe, retract, recalculate, remodify, retriangulate, correlates, and interact lines into your interface. That puts everything back in tractions. How you see likeness to your structures or your drawings. So when you're seeing your drawings and you're drawing your drawings, you're seeing it from inside out. You're not actually seeing it from outside in. You understand? And so everything has a projection, and that's how you see everything through self-awareness. Because this is how it works. How do you think a computer of its system is seeing me? How is it seeing me? From inside out. Mega multi-pass. Now you understand the process, how it comes in self-awareness, awareness of consciousness, how everything is watching you and basically seeing everything that you're doing in its application to its setting. How they see you from inside and out and not outside in. See? Gotcha. Right? So you've never been looking outside. You've always been inside. So this is about understanding, wow, this is amazing. Just because you're inside a house doesn't mean there's an outside, because there is. There has to be. So the one thing you have to balance is you inside. It's you that's in the truth. You are in the false narratives. You are the space. You are the time that puts you in position of where you are in any way and form, all in that calculation. Okay? Through time. Okay? It's you. Okay? So there's no inner and outer. It's just you. You are the in and you are the out, which is the yin and yang. And once you understand how to balance that out, you don't need to balance it out. Okay? There's nothing to balance. So then you understand the position, location, itself. Everything is not outside. All this that I see is not outside. It's actually inside. So there's no projection. You're not projecting anything. You're in real time in the VR. You never left. You've always been there. So when you start to see the inner lines and the outer line core, then you understand the inner self, and then you understand the outer self. So when I say this to that, that's not out. Inner and outer is in you. It's always been there. It's never left. It's you understanding you from you, from you, from you. So how you look at things is all levels from inside, not outside. You've never been projecting outside. You've always been projecting inside. But that confuses your lines of yang, communication settings of yin. That offlines your communication setting, inline communication of yang, that doesn't understand the yang. It's the yin and yang that has to be in a continuous flow at the same time. And once they identify their systems, they come together in one and the same stream all together. And the inside and the outside becomes all frames all at once in all timelines, in lines of existence, in set locations of real time. Okay? Hooah. All right? All right. So we're done. Take you guys out of correlation lines of tracks. You guys are back where you are in travel. Okay, so there's a lot to consider here. Okay, and now it's a better understanding now because it's going to have a lot more connection setting and position operation system, because now we're at 555 source code. So understanding how that communicates with your system. When you're looking at your hand is not outside. Your hand is inside, because the inside is the VR and the outside is the VR, but the inside and the outside is the VR. Okay, so that's what we all have to come into in tractions. All right. All right, I'll see you guys in 5.